I'm Coyote Peterson. And that right there, that's poison frog. Oh boy. Living inside of each and every one of us is a call to adventure. Follow that call to Costa Rica, and it will likely lead you on a trail to the Osa Peninsula, where you are certain to make discoveries that will never be forgotten. Is there something on my face? Central America is one of the most biologically diverse locations on the planet, and if you know where to look, there's a chance you will encounter its most elusive amphibian species. A tiny, yet toxic creature that has always lived at the top of my animal wish list. However, finding one would not be simple, and this adventure would require the team and I to journey deep into the heart of the rainforest. Oh, one thing that you don't realize until you're in the Costa Rican rainforest is just how sweltering it really is. Now, we've scaled down the side of this ravine and made it to a creek bed, the perfect place to search for amphibians. What I'm after are poison frogs. Let's head up this way and see what we can find. Getting into poison frog territory is only half the battle. The rainforest poses many challenges, but none more paralyzing for a camera team than a massive rainstorm. Well, I guess that's why they call it a rainforest. It's really raining now. For nearly 2 hours, we were forced to keep the cameras in protective bags, while our bodies soaked up the deluge of torrential rain. And while rain is bad for cameras, it's absolutely perfect for bringing amphibians out of their hiding spots. Here's them? Yeah. We got one right in here, right in here. I see him. Come up slow. Yes, right there. He's right there in the edge of that leaf. You see him? Red and teal. Yep. That's it. Let me see if I can just get him to hop up onto my hand. There we go. Got him. Awesome. All right, now that we finally got one, let's get him out into the better light and get him up close to the cameras. Woo! Oh, how cool is this? Take off my pack here. Finally, we have found a poison frog. Get ready. This is the granulated variety. Oh, come here, little guy. I'm gonna try to just get him to bounce on my hand there for a second so you can see him. Look at how adorable that little amphibian is. All right, I'm gonna get him under better control so that we can keep him here for this scene. Come here, little guy. Gently hold on to his back legs.
Man, that's awesome frog.
That is a cool frog right there. I'm pretty safe right now. I'm sure you're all watching this thinking to yourselves, oh boy, Coyote, here you go again, handling another dangerous animal. Trust me, I'm in no danger as long as I don't lick or eat this little tiny frog. This has to be the most brightly colored frog I think I've ever come across. Being from Ohio, I'm used to catching green frogs and bullfrogs. They're brown and green. And you look at this environment, the rainforest, and you think to yourself, how does this frog possibly camouflage itself? Well, it doesn't. It's actually doing exactly the opposite. This bright coloration is called aposematic coloration. It's actually a defense against predators because it warns them, if you eat me, I'm extremely toxic. Now, this specific species, the granulated poison frog, is not quite as toxic as some others. There are some species in South America that are so potent you could die within a matter of hours. Now, because this is an amphibian, it absorbs a lot of its moisture through its skin. So I'm constantly putting water on my hand from this creek and dribbling it onto the frog to keep his skin wet and my fingers wet. My fingers are actually also capable of extracting some of the moisture from this frog's body. The most important thing is to make sure I'm handling it gently and keeping this amphibian moist. Now, one really interesting feature about poison frogs that separates them from many other frog species is that they do not have webbing in between their toes. If you can see there, almost looks like the little toes of a gecko. And I don't know if we'll be able to see that with a macro shot, but they do have little sticky pads right on the tips of their fingers, which allow them to easily climb through the environment, on leaves, up and down logs. It allows them to hunt through the forest for their food. Now, what they're primarily feeding on is little ants, mites, and other invertebrates that have high concentrations of alkaloids. These alkaloids, once they're ingested into the frog's system, allow them to produce the toxins that make them poisonous. That's a pretty cool feature. Basically, the food that he's taking in is turning him into this super-powered toxic amphibian. Male poison frogs are incredibly territorial, and our wildlife biologist Mario managed to find himself in the right place at the right time to film an epic battle. This was a true clash of tiny giants, as the frogs went head-to-head with spin moves and body slams. This defensive behavior is rarely seen, and only a few have ever captured it on camera. The rivalry was intense, but only lasted for a brief moment, as the challenger was pinned belly up and finally driven off. With victory claimed, the king of this territory sat and croaked proudly upon his leafy throne. Now, I would never recommend that you go out and actually pick up one of these poison frogs. Now, this species is not potent enough to kill a human, but if you had a cut on your finger and some of that toxin gets into your system, it will give you a nauseous stomach. You probably have to lay down for a couple hours. What a cool experience, getting to handle a beautiful yet toxic amphibian here in the Costa Rican rainforest. I'm Coyote Peterson. Be brave. Stay wild. We'll see you on the next adventure. Every time we film an episode of Breaking Trail, we are faced with unique challenges. And between the unforgiving terrain and onslaught of inclement weather, this episode specifically was one of the most difficult we have ever produced. Seems crazy that such a small creature like the poison frog would pose such a challenge. But in the end, this was one adventurous episode that was totally worth the effort. The poison frog wasn't the only creature that came out after the rain. Check out this crazy looking whip scorpion that somehow ended up on my face. And don't forget, subscribe to join me and the crew on this season of Breaking Trail.
Hello, third graders. I hope that you enjoyed that interesting video all about that beautiful and deadly poison frog. Today, during reading, we're going to read some more about one of these flashy, fantastic rainforest frogs. In an article that I actually wrote and took from a lot of different resources. So today we're going to read this article together, learning all about the golden poison dart frog. All right, South Shore, today let's read a little bit about the gold poison dart frog. And you can see, like that frog we were just learning about on the video, this is a very tiny little frog that's very poisonous, just like the one we learned about on the video, but instead of that one being red, we're learning about the gold one today. So you can tell, I think, that I used a lot of different text features. So I have my title, but then I also have headings. And remember, the headings tell us what that section's gonna be about. I have bolded words, which are words in special print that are important to the text. I've got a map to show us where something is happening. I have illustrations that are in here, and I also have a glossary to tell us what those important words mean. So I think we'll start by looking at the glossary and finding out what these important words mean. So the important words that we're going to find in this text are amphibian, carrion, and captivity. An amphibian are cold-blooded animals that have gills and live in the water when young, but breathe air as adults. Carrion is dead and decaying animals that are eaten by other animals. So that means an animal would eat an animal that's been dead for a little bit. And captivity is controlled and kept within certain boundaries. So animals at the zoo would be in captivity. All right, let's get started. The gold poison frog, sometimes called the gold poison dart or gold poison arrow frog, is an amphibian with the scientific name of Philobates terribilius. It is most famous for its poisonous skin. The heading of this next section is where does it live? And I can see that there's a map here. The gold poison frog lives near the coast of the Pacific Ocean in the South American country of Colombia. Its habitat is the rainforest where there is lots of rain and the temperature is warm. They are social animals and live in groups of 4 to 7 in the wild. And here I can see South America, which is where this frog lives. Is it endangered? Yes, these frogs are listed as endangered. Even though there are a good number of them in their habitat is fairly small and is in danger of intrusion by people. Do you remember yesterday when we were reading about rainforest frogs? It said that oftentimes people will cut down areas in the rainforest, and if a frog lives in only a small area and that area gets cut down, then it will lose its home. And that's what I'm talking about in this section as well. When I say intrusion by people, that means basically people coming in to where they live. They live on a small amount of land in the rainforest of Colombia. Another reason the golden poisonous dart frog is endangered is due to the pollution of its habitat due to the chemicals used in farming. These chemicals kill off the insects that the frog eats, leaving it unable to find food. They became endangered due to logging, farming, international trade, human settlement, and habitat loss. Third graders, logging is when we cut down trees to sell the tree for wood. The next section is what does it eat? Golden poisonous adult frogs feed during the day mostly on insects they encounter on the rainforest floor. They eat flies, ants, beetles, spiders, mites, caterpillars, and maggots. Tadpoles eat whatever is available, such as algae and microscopic plants, carrion, and even smaller tadpoles. They use their long tongue to capture food from a distance. How poison is it? Many kinds of poison frogs are toxic or poisonous, enough to paralyze or even kill most predators. And the deadliest of the golden poison dart frog, the terrible toxins, in just one of these tiny terrors would be enough to kill 10 people. Hunters in some South American tribes have figured out how to use the frog's toxin without hurting the frog. A hunter wipes the tips of sharp wooden splinters, darts, on the back to coat each one with the slimy toxin. When he comes across prey, he loads the poison dart into one end of a special hollow means empty inside, stick called a blowgun. Then he aims it at his target, blows forcefully into the other end to shoot out the dart. And now you know why many people call these frogs poison dart frogs. It is believed that the frogs get their poison from an insect that they eat. If they are in captivity long enough, remember, to be in captivity means to be controlled and kept within certain boundaries. If they are in captivity long enough, they begin to get less poisonous. Gold poison frogs born in captivity are generally harmless. What does the gold poison dart frog look like? These frogs grow between 1 and 2 inches long. Unlike their name, they are not all gold colored. They can come in a variety of bright colors from green to yellow to orange. Their bright colors are meant to ward off predators who sometimes will recognize the bright colors as something poisonous or that won't taste good. This type of defensive coloring is called aposematic coloring. All right, third graders, show me what you got. Tell us what you've learned today about the poison dart frog. Please turn to the next blank page in your journal, write today's date, 4-30-20, and write down some facts about the poison dart frog that you learned. In fact, I'd like you to write down 3. Once you have written down 3 facts, please take a picture of your work and text it to your teacher. Let me know if you enjoyed learning about the poison dart frog as much as I did. Such an interesting little animal. All right, third graders, take care. Have some fun today. Talk soon.